Welcome to a new episode of the Twin Busch E-Learning series. Today we'll focus on our tire changer and we'll show you how to correctly fit a tire on a wheel. Before we start working with the machine, we should examine the machine and check that all devices installed on the machine are working correctly and guarantee protection. On one hand we have the bead breaker, which is a plastic cover attached to avoid damaging the rim while pressing the beads. Then the plastic protectors to clamp wheels with the clamping jaws. And then the plastic gliders on the mounting head. They should be in a good and working condition. The plastic protector for the clamping jaws is clipped on. These are metal clamping jaws and these plastic protectors are mounted on the metal jaws to protect the rim. We have prepared our wheel tire combination for the fitting, and we left them overnight to bring them to the recommended temperature of 23 degrees Celsius. We'll start by clamping the wheel. You must pay attention to the correct position of the jaws. The mounting head is brought up to the rim, placed on it, set next to it, and locked. By locking, the mounting head is slightly displaced to create a certain distance to the rim in order to relieve the rim during tire fitting. When adjusting the mounting head, it's important to make sure that the outer glider is set parallel to the outer flank of the wheel and that the two upper gliders rest on the rim flange. You can see exactly how to adjust it in the tips and tricks video. After correctly adjusting the mounting head, we can tilt it out of the way again. Here we have a wheel with a tire pressure sensor. No matter what type of valve is installed, when lubricating the rim, or the rim flange mainly, the valve should always be left out. Don't be frugal with the mounting paste. We can keep the machine turning for this. Use enough mounting paste to grease the tire as well. This helps for the fitting. The inside should also be greased in the same way. Now we can start with the fitting. We have prepared an animation for you to better understand the process. It's easier to slide the lower bead over the rim flange because the tire can be tilted and the bead only has to deform slightly to enter the rim. Mounting the second bead is significantly harder. The contact of the second bead on the rim flange, the flat angle, and the lower bead, which is already in the rim, cause greater tension on the tire. Here, one side of the tire must be guided into the drop center with pressure, otherwise, it would be impossible to slide the bead over the rim flange on the opposite side. This is a run flat tire. Here we see the label for the outside of the tire. The outside of the tire is attached to the outside of the rim. The valve should be opposite the mounting arm, on the front position in this case. If the mounting head is on the side, the valve should also be opposite the mounting head. When fitting the lower tire bead, the tire is pushed over and the mounting head is lifted up. The lower bead should sit on the lip of the mounting head on this side and under the lip on this side. And then the tire can be fitted. While fitting the second tire bead, the valve should always be turned about a quarter turn away from the mounting head. We'll do this now. And we'll put on the edge protector to protect the rim and tire. While fitting the second bead, the same positioning should be used as with the first bead. The bead should sit over the mounting head on this side and under the mounting head here. We'll take the bead roller and the movable depressor as aids for fitting. The movable depressor is placed somewhat behind the valve, so the direction of rotation is clockwise.
hinter dem Ventil angesetzt wird.
As mentioned, make sure that the bead is guided downwards over the mounting head while fitting. The bead should be pushed into or close to the drop center by the movable depressor and the bead roller. The depressor shouldn't be set with too much nor too little tension to avoid damaging the tire. During further fitting, the movable depressor is guided by hand.
Bewegliche Niederhalter mit der Hand mitgeführt.
Tire fitting is harder in this case because we're dealing with a run-flat tire with reinforced sidewall. It depends on the size and dimensions of the tire. In this case, we'll use a bead press chain to really guide the bead into the drop center.
Oder in das Tiefbett einzuführen.
We'll use the deeper side. The bead press chain has two sides. It depends on the depth of the drop center. The depressors are attached one by one. Now we can clearly see the position of the tire bead in relation to the drop center. From here on, the tire is under the highest tension. Because the bead depressor is opposite the mounting head, it's easy to see that the tire is under extreme tension. The tension will be reduced during further fitting. What's important is guiding the movable bead depressor while fitting the tire. Now we've come to the point shortly before the tire slips over the flange. We can't take off pressure from the bead and relieve the depressor. We're done with the fitting. Now we can withdraw the mounting head again.
Wieder entfernen.
Release the wheel from the jaws. Let's fill the tire now. Please pay attention to the maximum pressure according to the manufacturer's indications during this step.
Jetzt gleich kommt er.
The tire is now filled with the correct tire pressure. Both beads have jumped over the humps. We heard that through the bang. The valve cap is screwed on. And now the tire is ready to be balanced. Let's remove the tire. To remove the tire, it's important to deflate it first. This means removing the valve cap and unscrewing the valve core with a valve core remover.
Ausdrehen.
When pressing the tire away from the rim, the sidewall is pushed over the humps of the rim by the bead breaker. And it's important to make sure that the bead breaker doesn't push too deep into the tire because the tire could be damaged. With this machine, we have the advantage of having an adjustment screw to limit the pushing depth of the bead breaker, and we'll adjust it now.
Zu begrenzen, und das wollen wir jetzt hier erstmal einstellen. So. Jetzt sehen wir
Now we see the depth. This should work. While pushing the beads, you should make sure not to push on the valve side because the sidewall enters the drop center and could damage the valve. So we move the valve a bit. The bead breaker should stay a bit away from the rim flange to avoid damaging the wheel.
vom Felgenhorn wegsitzen, die Felge nicht zu beschädigen.
And the tire should be pushed on many places.
Abgedrückt werden.
The wheel can be clamped with the clamping jaws now. We can now adjust the clamping jaws to the approximate rim size for this. We must grease well again. We see that the bead on this side has slipped back into its position. We'll use a bead roller for this. We press down the bead a bit and take enough mounting paste. Especially when removing run-flat tires with reinforced sidewall, we can see, also in this case, that the sidewall wants to slide back into its final position again and again. So we must work with the bead press chain now. When removing tires, it's also important to make sure that we start pulling out the tire in front of the valve. This means that the valve should stop before the mounting head, and the chain should be attached opposite the mounting head to push the opposite side into the drop center. We'll do this now. This means that the chain should be attached approximately from here to here, so we know we must start attaching here. Now we put the edge protector on the flange to avoid damaging the flange and the tire. And we bring the mounting head in position.
Montagekopf her.
We also grease the tire lever with mounting paste to pull the tire over the mounting head.
Das Montageeisen mit Reifenpaste ein.
The lever shouldn't be set too deep into the tire because it could damage the tread or the sidewall while levering. The lever should be set closely behind the bead to pull the bead over the mounting head.
Wichtig ist hier, dass der
What's important here is pulling out the bead over the mounting head.
Montagekopf übergezogen wird.
The tire is loose. We can remove the protector now. To remove the second bead from the rim, we'll use the bead roller as an extractor roller. Additionally, make sure that the valve is on the side where we start pushing so that the opposite side can get into the drop center. So we rotate the valve towards the roller. And we pull out the roller. When pulling the second tire bead, make sure that the extractor roller is not too close to the rim. It shouldn't be set too far away from the rim either, or too far under the outer side of the tire, because the tire would be unnecessarily deformed or loaded otherwise. Ideally, the extractor roller should be set close to the rim flange. We have a special wheel here. On the one hand, a beautiful designer wheel. On the other hand, the drop center is built into the back of the wheel. The drop center should always be on the upper side of the machine. This also means that the outside of the wheel will be clamped facing down. And now we'll show you the fitting of a UHP tire in high speed.